Are you wanting to quilt your own quilts without having to send them to a long arm quilter, as we call it, quilting by checkbook? And you're not really proficient at free motion quilting yet, although it's not hard to do. With a little practice, you will make beautiful quilts in no time at all. But in the meantime, you can use your machine, your embroidery machine, to get intricate patterns. And there's lots of patterns out there on the market. There's some even built into a lot of the machines. But there's a few modifications you have to make to your machine before it's ready for machine quilting. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put same thread that you have in the needle, which I'm going to be using this embroidery thread, in both the needle and the bobbin. You're also going to want to adjust your tensions so that the needle and the bobbin threads are balanced. That means that they're not inside of the fabric. Most machine embroidery is set so that you have the bobbin thread tight and your needle thread is looser, so that you don't have the bobbin thread showing at the top. So what you're going to have to do is run a test. Okay, how you can tell, even if you can't see it, if your tensions are bad, is if you run your fingernail along the line of stitching like this, and you hear click, 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 your tension is not balanced. So you're going to want to run a test. You're going to want to use the bobbin case that has the bobbin tension screw painted green. And how you can tell, actually I have the wrong one in. So I'm going to change it. So this little screw here is painted pink, which means that's set for machine embroidery. If it's either pink or silver, it's set for machine embroidery, so this tension is tighter. So you're going to want the one that's painted green. So, and it'll be green here, and it will not have a dot painted in the middle. Okay, now I have the green one in, and I'm going to set that in place. And there we go. And set this back. It's hard to do this with the arm on. Right there. Now it's set and in my bobbin. Okay. Alright, let's get started. Okay, to begin with, I'm going to load my design into the machine, and I've loaded into my machine. This particular design is the one that I created in less than 5 minutes using the new Designer's Gallery Creator Level 1 software. It's very easy to use, but that's a different lesson. Okay, so when you're selecting a design, you want to make sure that it's not really stitch intensive. You want something with fairly long stitches if you're doing your own digitizing. Set your stitch length to about a 3 or a 3.5 millimeter length. But there's lots of quilting designs available on the market. All I have to do is just hoop the quilt sandwich, and you don't need stabilizer. I've loaded the same thread that I'm using in the needle into my bobbin. Okay, so I've loaded the design. And here's the hoop. Now the first thing I want to do is to bring my bobbin thread up. I don't want to have those unsightly little knots on the back of my fabric that normal machine embroidery does, so I want it to look a little nicer. Now for this project I'm just using ordinary embroidery thread, but you can use quilting thread, 50 weight quilting thread, whatever you like, metallic thread, whatever your preference is. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my first stitch. I'm going to select this plus or minus with right here, because that takes me to my stitches. So I want to advance it forward 1 or 2 stitches. And actually, most machines, especially those that have trimming capability, will do a little lock stitch, which is like 3 little stitches in one spot, and it usually will make a little knot on the back. First thing I want to do is to bring up my bobbin thread. Then I'm going to lower my presser foot and bring up my bobbin thread. And I might raise this. I want both pieces of thread in my hand. I'm going to not pull them, but hold them out of the way, and then lower my presser foot and begin to stitch. And I'm going to let it go a little while till it's out of the way. And here I have a choice. I can clip it, or I can take a self-threading needle and simply thread the needle and embed it inside of the stitching. For this one, I'm just going to clip it really close. And now it's out of the way. You don't want to leave the thread there because it can get caught and wrapped around the foot. So I'm going to continue to stitch the design. Now you also want to make sure the design is centered within your block or exactly where you want it to be. So what you might have to do is to print out a template so that you can get good placement. Now when it begins to slow down, like it's going to start to cut the jump stitches, I'm going to reach in here and stop the machine. Stop. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is raise the needle. I want to reach under and grab a loop of thread and manually pulse it down again to bring my bobbin thread up to the top. So again, if I grab all the thread, see, now I pulled my bobbin thread up. Okay, and that's actually where I want to stop the design. Okay, so now that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 strands of thread, I can use my scissor to cut. Lower my presser foot and cut. That cuts everything, and it leaves me with 2 threads in my hand. And these I can either snip them or take a self-threading needle and embed this thread. I could tie it. Usually I'll tie a little knot, do a little quilter's knot, and run that thread underneath or between the layers of batting. And see how nice and neat the back is. You don't see any of those knots sticking out. So it's very simple to quilt using your sewing machine, and they're going to have to look awfully close to figure out it was done by an embroidery machine. Now, if you have problem hooping your quilt sandwich because you've used too thick of a batting, what you can do is use my least favorite stabilizer in the entire world, which is this sticky back stabilizer that has an adhesive attached to it. And the reason I don't like it is because it gums up the needles like you wouldn't believe. So what I do is I will hoop the stabilizer only and remove the paper from inside the inside of the hoop. Take all of it out. Because I want to use this to simply stitch, but I don't want to sew this through this. It gums up the needle. So I'm simply going to cut out from the area that it's going to stitch, because with a quilt I don't need to have stabilizer. It's pretty stable on its own, and besides, you are only doing just at most a red work design. See, now I've just removed this bit, pitch this, throw that away, put this in the hoop or any place, put the center of my design where the design should be, right in the middle where the needle is, and just press the rest down, and that's going to hold your hoop, or that's going to hold your quilt sandwich to your hoop, and it's not going to get involved in the stitching. So that's one way of doing it. If you're going to do a lot of quilting with your embroidery machine, you might want to invest in a Magna quilt. They're expensive. They're about $500. But if you use it, if you're going to do a lot of quilting with your embroidery machine, it's probably worth the investment. So, because the magnets hold it in place. Otherwise, it's best to hoop your fabric if your machine allows. Okay. So you see, it's finished. And I'm not going, this is not for show, it's just a sample, so I'm just going to simply clip my threads at the top. I let it do a few of the locking stitches, but no tails, so actually you can't tell the front from the back. So till next time, come visit us at Attic Treasures and Sew Easy Sewing in Occoquan, Virginia. If you have any questions, you can give us a call at 703-490-1536. Okay, till next month. See you later. Bye.